I got a call in January, late January of last year, and they said, hey, will your machine kill COVID? So, well, I can't tell you that. That's you've got it out there for a different reason, not for this. And they said, well, do some work on it. Call us back. So over that weekend, I got my team together. We wrote a 5 or 10 page white paper. We did a bunch of work on it. Ozone was used to kill SARS-CoV-1, the bird flu, back in 2008. It's a great virus and bacterial killer. So called them back and said, hey, you've had a really busy weekend. Kobe's helicopter went down this weekend and they were dealing with that. If that puts it, kind of perspective, I said, and you got your first case of COVID at the airport.
This segment of DoD TV is brought to you by Scent Crusher. Scent off, game on.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast, powered by DeerCast. This is episode number 202. I'm Tim Chelsvik.
I'm Matt Drury. We got a full house today.
We do, and the show is called Crushing COVID, and no better person to have in studio than Dan Drake from Scent Crusher himself, and we got Mr. Mark Drury too.
What's up, guys?
How are you?
Good.
Good.
We're going to start. I'm going to be honest here right out of the gate. We had a late night. The three of us and Terry.
It was a good time.
The RC helicopter field again.
Yeah,
flying
that's
helicopters
exactly
at
right.
night.
Yeah, so it was good. Dan came in a little early yesterday, so it gave us an opportunity to get together. And we've been talking about it a lot on the podcast because we've had a lot of our industry partners in. We really missed the trade shows this year, and we missed the opportunity to get together with our good. These guys are not just partners, but they're friends, and that's the cool part about it. And so last night we had a good opportunity to sit down and have a couple libations and have a good time.
It was a great time.
It was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's like you say, we miss these trade shows. We miss the chance to see each other. So when we talked about doing the podcast, I was like, gosh, let me come over. So
yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming in. Came a long way from Wichita.
Yeah.
Via Iowa. Little triangle there.
All the good things happen in Iowa.
Yeah. Right.
And then he kept us up too late.
Dan, were you at the Deer Classic?
I did not go to the Deer Classic. That was a couple weekends ago, but I was up there to see my marketing guy and spend a little time on his farm up there.
So Chase, rub line. And that's the other cool part because, Chase has been a great business partner of yours for really since the beginning.
I started, yeah.
And we've known Chase, Mark originally was the first guy that met him dating how long ago?
Gosh, 15, 18 years ago. Yeah. It's been a bit.
So, when they outside looking in, the industry might seem pretty large, but realistically it's very small. And it's almost like your local high school, everybody and somehow somebody's got a connection to somebody else. And it's really how a lot of the partnerships form.
Have you had Chase on?
We have. Yeah, we have had him on. Maybe before you were on, but I've had him on.
Great guest. Will not come back now.
He'd be a super good guest.
Yeah. It's been a while. I'm almost positive he's been on. So
we may not be able to get him. He's a pretty big deal.
That's right.
Well, let's
hop in. It's time to get a contract, and I know he's going to listen to this, so I'm throwing that in.
Blowing us up. So Matthew Grice from Instagram says, "LOL, you guys are hilarious. Love y'all's podcasts are fire."
That's he must be young.
It's children talk for good. Gets me through some long work days. LOL.
All right, we got another shout out here from Josh Porter over on DeerCast. He says, "Hey guys, good episode. Learned a lot from Austin. It was nice to hear exactly what he does and how big they actually are. Knew he was a guide, but didn't know it was a family business and on that much property. Very cool, and also cool to see you as part of the Drury family now." He was talking about we had Austin Land, Taylor's husband, on.
Exactly why I arranged that marriage.
Arranged marriages work.
It is. He lives in Utah. So. All right. So what do we got here?
I'd like to talk more about arranged marriages, but it's really not our format, I guess.
Okay. Well,
let's talk about what Dan's doing in the industry in terms of, and we talked about crushing COVID from the outset. Like this is, there's some innovation happening right now.
Yeah. And I know we're going to have naysayers right out of the gate. And when you guys originally told me about it back, so we're a full year into the beginning of the pandemic, right? Like today, as we film this, it's March 16th, our last day before we shut down for a month. It was about this time, maybe the 17th.
Feels like it's been 5 years.
Yeah. So we ended up coming back in May or whatever, but I know around that time, Chase Chase and the guys at Rubline had reached out and they were telling me about what you guys are doing in relation to COVID. And I didn't really understand the full breadth of it until you and I had talked not long ago, and you kind of really took me into the details of the testing facilities and the level and just how deep this thing went. And so I thought, man, this would be such a cool story to tell to the audience, because as Mark said offline here a second ago, if it can do that to COVID, what does it do to scent?
What's it doing for me? Yeah. That's what I want to know. Like, if it's killing that, well, it's killing a lot more than that. So
why don't you take us in through the story, a little background, maybe go back
from the beginning. Certainly. You know, it's funny. Everything is a progression, right? So, you know, all the years you guys have been getting better, hunting deer and all that stuff we do, we go back to 2013. And I had a CFO whose son had run across an AstroTurf football field, fallen down, had a wound on his shoulder, got a staph infection. It's serious. A couple times a day, IV antibiotics, you know, to go through it. And at that point in time, we were making lawnmower lifts and barbecue grills. And it's not as much fun in the lawnmower lift world as you may imagine.
Sounds like
hunting is a lot better. But so we came up with a solution at that point in time that we could use ozone, the O3 molecule, to kill bacteria. So we went out and we hired a guy from NASA who had done the International Space Station, their water system, which is a closed system. You can't have any outside things going on. They didn't want chemicals in the space station. So they were using ozone to clean the water. And the byproduct of ozone is oxygen, the O2 molecule. So we used him. We developed a way that you could treat AstroTurf football fields and take care of that bacteria that sat there. Fast forward, we did that. And looked at that project and then went on and said, okay, what else can we do with it? And we knew that there had been some knowledge of ozone in the industry. But what we knew was that if you took ozone in a container, you could kill bacteria, odor, and smell in a heartbeat, 100%. And that's what we started doing in 2015. Mm-hmm. And then from there, that wasn't all we did. So we went on from there and we said, okay, where else can we do it with? So now we do it in hockey, football, soccer, and the hockey stuff is really some of the worst. The hunters that we have in those northern states go, I use this bag for everything, you know? So hockey, football, soccer, military, tactical, so bulletproof vests, gloves. And then we spent more time thinking about how can we supercharge this ozone? How can we make the process happen faster? How can it be more effective? And we continued to have our guy on staff. And we had a partner who was looking at it for first responders and how we could take care of it for carcinogens and fire and that kind of stuff. And we worked with that partner and we came up with a way to do it and essentially supercharge the ozone. So the process happens like that as opposed to over kind of a 15-minute period. So that's really the basis of how we kind of get to killing COVID today. So we've been doing this for 7 years leading into the pandemic. And our machine sat at the Los Angeles Emergency kind of technology center being used in another form. And I got a call in January, late January of last year, and they said, hey, will your machine kill COVID? So, well, I can't tell you that. You know, that's you've got it out there for a different reason, not for this. And they said, well, do some work on it. Call us back. So over that weekend, I got my team together. We wrote a 5 or 10 page white paper. We did a bunch of work on it. Ozone was used to kill SARS-CoV-1, the bird flu, back in 2008. It's a great virus and bacterial killer. So called them back and said, hey, you've had a really busy weekend. Kobe's helicopter went down this weekend and they were dealing with that. If that puts it, kind of perspective, I said, and you got your first case of COVID at the airport. And it's funny to talk about one single case now as we've had millions. Yeah. But they had one case in Washington. They were trying to keep it out of the U.S. and they picked up a second case in L.A. In January last year. He goes, yeah. He goes, we were in charge of transporting them, and we came back and we put all their gear in their closet. Did it work? I said, I think it did. I think it kills it. So again, that's January. Nobody got serious until March 16th which is today, a year ago, when they canceled the NCAA tournament, they canceled the NBA, the market was down 13% that day. I don't know if you guys remember, but but it's essentially a year ago today where it became super serious. So a couple weeks later, we had Boeing Defense call us in Wichita, Kansas. There's a bunch of aircraft related stuff there, and said, hey, our workers are still here working. They can't go home. We're a defense business. All of it has to happen here. How can you create a system that will treat all the air and office space that we have? So we started thinking about it super hard then, came up with a system that we thought would work. And then we're like, how do we get it tested? And as you may imagine, they don't just let the live virus floating around out there for people to test all over. Yeah. So we found a lab that had, it was kind of a government private lab that had the virus. We found out later that they were one of 3 labs in the entire country. We got tested in late May, early June on the virus, and came up with kind of a couple different systems then that we thought we could use. So I think Clorox was in there at the same time we were.
So to put in perspective how big of a company, that is, and that's pretty amazing to me. That was the aha moment for me. I was like, holy cow, to be in line and with a major corporation like that. Was at Procter & Gamble, I think, Clorox. It's like, that's some serious business there.
And it's not cheap to do that stuff. We have lots of R&D monies. That whole process, the 7 years I mentioned, there is lots of R&D that essentially has all flowed back into the hunting category.
So what were the end results of the tests?
So the end results of a test was we figured out that we could design a unit that would sit in a room like this, 1,200 square feet, hit a button, walk out. An hour and a half later, we could kill COVID at 99.8%.
Wow.
And not just on the surface, but, everywhere air can reach, like a surgery center, sanitize a room. The other product is we figured out we could use it in a container just like we do in Scent Crusher. So any bag, closet, tote, anything you have, put it in there, and we would kill COVID at 99.97%.
Wow, that's awesome.
How is that different than the typical standard
like
Scent Crusher unit,
right? So again, we've kind of figured out how to supercharge it. So we have we figured out the right concentration of ozone in the certain size container, and then we've added humidity as well to that in the right concentration for the right period of time. So now you add water to this new system in addition to these preset levels that allow it to be supercharged. Crazy effective against all that.
Which kind of makes sense. I know they talk about COVID being less, not virulent, but spread communicable during the summer months when the humidity is higher, because apparently it just doesn't do so good when there's a higher humidity.
Well, and I think part of that's heat too.
And
heat is
UV.
beating that back, for
UV
what it is.
as well.
Yeah. So, it's, and again, it takes a long time to do this stuff. So one other thing that people don't really get is, a lot of the technology and the R&D work happens at our factory, which is overseas also, because we use 4 or 5 great factories over there. I was literally calling our senators and House of Representatives trying to get a visa to send my guy back to the factory to do this R&D work. It took us about 4 months, and we ended up putting our guy back in China in September. He is still there. Still calling me to come home, actually, as we finish R&D on some of this other stuff. But we sent our guy back to China. Nobody has a guy working in their factory overseas, finishing up this process and trying to figure out how we can bring those jobs back to the U.S. also all at the same time as part of those parts. But yeah, it's been just a long process.
That's probably, I think, a question a lot of guys listening would have. It's like, all right, so I don't know that majority of people understand just how reliant we are as a country overseas in the manufacturing process. It's not really something that until the last few years that companies could even afford to bring back over stateside. Now, when COVID hit and then manufacturing not necessarily stopped. It did stop for a lot of people, but when it picked back up, then the next issue was getting it back into the country, right? So what kind of hurdles do you guys, as a manufacturing business? What kind of hurdles do you have to get through to get your product back in?
So, through this whole thing, all the retailers have asked us to be just-in-time inventory because it lowers their inventory costs. So everybody tighten that supply chain. You saw it. You saw people run out of paper towels and soup and all kinds of crazy things because those inventories were small. So what's happened is that's rippled through some component parts that you use there. It's also, there ended up being a large supply of containers in the U.S., but not back over in China. So just to get a container was tough, let alone now that the demand has picked up to get a spot on a ship to come back over. They told me before I came this week that we have one container sitting there that's been on the dock since February 19th, waiting for space. Now, I'm not sure why that one container is because we've had probably 40 go since then. But and then once it gets to the LA port, the problem has been with COVID is there aren't enough port workers. So it will typically, instead of getting off the ship in a day, it may sit there for 10 or 12 days before it gets off. The truck's able to pull up to put it on rail to then bring it to your local Bass Pro Cabela, Shields, kind of world. So
I'm sure it's a nightmare to figure out your projections and time all that out, like so many unknowns that you can't control, really.
Especially when they're asking you to be just in time, right?
Yeah.
It is, and we're lucky, as a private business, you get to kind of run your own capital and do the right thing. So we've tried to keep some extra inventory as we've gone through it. But yeah, it's tough to figure out all that stuff sometimes.
Does it still make it just not possible to do these types of manufacturing stateside just due to the cost of materials or the components? That's what I always hear. It's the component factor. There's a material, there's something that is only over there, a chemical or whatever that
you can assemble it here. But again, a lot of those component parts come from there. And I was sitting with about 15 guys that own businesses the other day, and they said, I make barbecue grills, but I'm waiting on this one piece of plastic, through the component suppliers to screw the board to make the whole deal work, so they're seeing ripples through all that stuff. Yeah. And of course, pricing and, all the rest of the things.
Sure.
So kind of looking ahead from the Plus unit, are you suggesting that people use that for hunting applications, or will there be kind of a transference of technology from that into the overall scent crusher line? So
now they can basically use this unit in all their existing scent crusher stuff. Okay. So not only will it take care of all the smell, bacteria, sports related things that sit out there, it also and be able to be used in hunting. But also if you want to take your electronics, your packages, your masks, stuff like that, and put in there and sanitize it, you can do that too. I know everybody's kind of got their own process and what they feel comfortable doing. So
sure.
What does it do to rubber or, that's always a thing with ozone, right? It's you're the elastic, I'm thinking of like
the bib straps.
The bib straps on my Nomad, bibs. Maybe dive into that. Like, why does it do that? And what is the process there?
So ozone will tear down a natural organic compound, which is rubber. So rubber is pure. It comes out of a rubber tree. So pure rubber, it will affect. There are not that many things that are pure rubber today. They're usually compounds of some type. So if it is pure rubber, which sometimes you'll see in really, really thin elastic, and maybe your Nomad straps are like that. I know there are some other guys that have changed it to more of a polymer. Synthetic, that it's not affected. So I haven't found it affect very many things at all in my world, but
take a pair of lacrosse boots. Would it affect them, or is that a polymer that it's not going to affect?
Polymer. It's not. So rubber boot, they call them rubber boots, but they're not rubber boots. I put all of my clothes in there, and that, I've got rubber around the sleeves and the base of the coat and stuff like that. And I haven't seen.
How about I think the big one everybody looks at is like a harness, a tree stand safety harness. Like I always just spray mine down because I don't want to take the risk of it affecting anything within that system. What do you think?
You hate to say something with safety like that because I haven't tested everything. So I don't think that's fair for me to say it's fine across the whole world because I don't know the actual materials each one of those are made out of. So I'm always better safe than sorry. I do put my own personal harness in there. which is a muddy harness, and it's got the bungee piece of it, and I haven't had any issues with it. But again, I hate to say it.
I do.
I always spray mine.
I spray mine down
with just in case. Who wants to test that?
That's the one thing I don't put in. I've ruined a lot of Nomad straps, but I won't put that in muddy harness.
I have put my harness in the ozone, and I've been very observant for the crunchiness that you get when it with the Nomad bib straps. I've not personally seen that.
Good.
But it has crossed my mind.
What I think you see is if it's going to happen, it happens pretty quickly. So you'd see it after the first few cycles. Yeah,
you definitely notice that. It makes your the elastic look like bacon or whatever. It's just wavy, and you definitely see it pretty quickly. It doesn't take too many applications, but that's the only thing I've noticed that on.
The only thing I've noticed it on.
So I really don't have any issue putting our equipment or camera or any of that stuff in there, but it's plastic, and the
other side of it is it gets you 2 yards from a deer, it can't smell you.
That's right.
It's funny. Again, we were talking about all these other industries that we've been in, and I was down at Fort Hood military base showing it to the military guys, and they had dogs in there that were in charge of sniffing out bombs and different stuff, and we did some testing on it, and it was amazing that the dogs could not find the stuff once it was inside a bag.
So could not find it at all, or took them a little bit longer? I
couldn't find it at all.
Really? Because I know in the past with other ozone companies in the industry, they've run independent studies of scent blocker, scent lock type of material versus ozone and it seems like they could end up finding it, but it took a lot longer. It gave you, which we always say, it gives you that extra added 10 seconds you need, 15
or 10 yards or whatever
it is.
Yeah.
Once they shut off the bag, so the generator wasn't running, they could find it within 3 minutes. But you essentially had shut off the technology.
Gotcha. So as it's running, they just couldn't pick up on it. That makes sense. Yeah.
It makes sense. I mean, I've seen it hundreds of times in the deer woods. I'm your biggest believer in the technology, and I mean, we're animals about scent crusher every day, regiment. I mean, in the blind, we have ozone with us, and it's amazing what it does.
Yeah,
I pretty much lived out of my covert closet this past fall because it was so easy to throw in the truck, let it crush, and then leave here and hit the stand, and everything's in there. It's big enough to fit everything I need for a hunt, and it's crushing the whole time I'm waiting to go.
There's that residual ozone that stays on your clothes as you go to the stand and are there using it. Yeah,
you kind of grow to actually like the smell then too. That's one thing that you really like to see. It's like, oh man, did I crush it good enough?
Autumn has a new smell. It's ozone.
You're like, there's a mental association that's happening. As a kid, I remember the smell of my dad's gun case. I remember the smell of the gun cabinet and the sounds that it made opening up early in the morning to go up for squirrels. And I just wonder how many people, not like in this generation, their association with hunting is going to be ozone, because it's happened to me.
It's interesting because I think, probably around 2016, 2007, when you go to a camp, you'd start seeing the bags everywhere. It was like, then you went to a camp, you couldn't not see a bag. A lot of people really, jumped on board there in those first few years, I feel like. And now it's just a part of camp. You see it. Everybody's got a lot of people have some sort of ozone that they're running to.
It was so exciting last year to redo the whole line. So that first year we did it in 2015, you kind of did with what you thought would work and was easy to produce. So to be able to come back last year and redo it with the perfect zippers, the perfect pockets, the perfect size, the backpack straps, the closet, a lightweight techno fabric, all that stuff.
It's beautiful too.
Has been
really aesthetically pleasing.
The Halo, the actual Halo unit, which is the newer unit,
affordable.
It's way stronger than it was. That's the cool part. The battery lasts longer.
Battery life is awesome.
Battery lasts all fall. It's amazing how long that battery lasts.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So
what's that battery rated for?
For how long?
Yeah.
We say 4 hours, but I'll tell you,
far exceeds
it's 6, 7, 8,
yeah,
I think.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as someone getting their hands on a Plus unit, are they on retail shelves now?
We are ready to launch that stuff next week, actually. So they aren't on retail shelves yet. We literally got them in last week. So they'll be headed to retailers, as they reset fall hunting sets, probably in June and July. Okay. But we'll have them available on our website until then if somebody'd like one. And
awesome.
Yeah, so it's, again, $249. So it's priced right, we think, to be able to take care of COVID as well as all your other hunting and sports related stuff.
And you said that unit will be able to swap out with your existing bag with a closet you might have. Like you'll be able to use that new unit in all your other gear.
Absolutely.
What's the safety side of it from a perspective, for instance, the unit that you put in your truck, and I know that thing will kick off after so long I'm sure there's some sort of health guidelines or safety guidelines of how much you want to intake.
Absolutely
or
right.
be around.
So, again, that's the other thing is we focused on safety the whole time. So the unit that can go in your truck or in your house puts out an amount of ozone that is below the levels that are considered harmful. And we put them on timers to make sure that they shut off in case they get in a small space. The ones that you use in your closet or in your bag are not made to be around you. So you wouldn't want to take your one that you put in your bag, put it in your truck and drive down the road.
Sure.
It's made to go in a bag to seal everything inside there and do that.
Okay. So the new Plus unit, say, I said this on the phone to you the other day. What I find interesting, my wife was always skeptical of the technology, just didn't understand it, right?
She's skeptical of everything.
Yeah. Basically of me. Anything I tell her, it's not believable.
Which I can't blame her in some respects.
Believe me, it's been a long road of why she has this opinion. So she says, not long ago, a couple months ago, she wanted the little disc, the new unit for in-home or to plug into a bathroom or whatever. Yep. She's like, hey, do you have one of those? I was like, yeah. So she's like, why don't you bring it home? Because we had, she's using an air freshener or whatever. And she's like, I don't know. She's like, I just feel like this isn't, I don't know. I want to try to clean the rooms or whatever when we're gone with it. And so we started using that. And I think to myself, it's like, well, if she's starting to think that way, and I'm sure it's COVID related, you get inundated with all this stuff over and over and over. What if we had this Plus unit? Do you set it up, you leave that hey, you set it to go before you in a bigger room, how long would you need it to run? Or
the Plus unit is not made for a room.
Okay.
It's just made for a closet or bag style stuff. We are working on a unit that you could put in your room, hit a button, walk away. But again, it'd be a much larger unit made specifically for the space to be where it is. And, the crazy thing is we knew that ozone has the ability to kill virus and where it is. This particular virus, we tested with just ozone over what we thought was a pretty long time period. And it only killed 6% of the virus.
So standard ozone.
Standard ozone is not effective enough on this virus. Whereas once we supercharged it in our manner, we killed 99.97% of the virus.
That's very interesting. What was the unit you sent me? There was a big blue unit. I had some issues up there at the farm when we had the water leak and we had some smells I wanted to get.
So that was kind of just a giant ozone generator that I think you were using on some mold or something or smell that you had in a basement. And and ozone has been used in that manner. Like you have fire restoration, that kind of stuff. They'll come in and they'll seal off a house and use it that way, or sometime in some mold situations.
It really worked. I mean, incredibly well, because I had a water leak in the house and the water sat there for a while. It was out on the Missouri farm and ended up with a musty, smell. We had to redo the house, but the smell was still there. So I went in and killed it before they finished the redo, room by room by room. We'd do it 2 or 3 nights in a row, the same room. And I mean, it just eliminated it, made it smell new again. It was incredible.
Sweet. Yeah. And, of course, I know all about it, but I use it for, I would say everything, but you're outside around a fire, and your jacket is smoky. You throw it in there. You got guys that are smoking cigars around you or something like that. It's way easier than washing it and actually is more effective.
Yeah.
So.
Have you heard any anecdotal evidence about what it does to ticks? Like if you get a bunch of seed ticks on your pants, you throw it in the closet, does it do anything to them?
in really high concentrations, it can be effective against insects. We have not tested it in that manner, so I hate to speculate.
Sure.
Exactly.
My guess is they'll survive. Just a gut.
Well, in general,
explosion, they'll be there.
One question we do get a lot is, though, some of the pants or you treat stuff with permethrin, and if ozone will break that down, and it will break down that, because again, it's trying to
I tell you what
and clean it all
will
up,
destroy a tick, and in a hurry, and that's a microwave oven.
Oh, really?
I've done that.
It absolutely works like a charm. If you get it full of them, stick it in there, and they're 10, 15 seconds, they're dead.
Yeah, and throw a bag of popcorn in there.
No.
Gross.
No, well, I put it inside another bag and just microwave it, and they're all dead. They just fall off.
Ding!
Oh, yeah.
Someone making bacon in the microwave or something?
Gross.
No, it's just.
So in the spring, you kind of, if you are using permethrin, don't throw your pants and into a sink crusher closet.
Right. You'll have to retreat them afterwards.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Good to know. I think you had told me that one time. They kind of work against each other a little bit. So anything else that we need to know while we have the mad scientist here?
The actual one?
As you know, I mean, we're bringing all this stuff back here, and we continue to work on stuff in other industries that we think are fascinating. And we'll just continue to bring it back to the hunting industry.
Sure.
Because that's where it should be. So.
Yeah, the word science is kind of thrown around pretty loosely in the hunting industry sometimes when it comes to technology, and it's nice to hear the background on this is actually like certified labs and using real science with real results.
I always think about a company like Analogics. We talk about it, that they're part of the industry. They have a lot of people that are just kind of, hey, I use this and put this formula together. Yes. It's a formula of, hey, it's corn and whatever, sugar and whatever else. And this really works. And then you have a company like Analogics that actually have scientists
in a giant lab testing and
lab coats,
formulating.
They bring back what they find from the pork industry, the cattle industry, the whatever, and they bring it and put it into the herd health for whitetails. Pretty incredible. So I liken that to this, and it was about the same time that both of your companies came out. It was kind of a holy cow moment.
Pretty similar. Yep.
Yeah, for us when we got to meet you guys, and it's like, wow, finally, something that could sink your teeth into.
You spend all that time in the woods hunting and preparing and working towards it. Why wouldn't you take every advantage of being able to do it that way? And it saves you time. So you're not washing your clothes. You're not tearing stuff down. 15 minutes, it's perfect before you walk into the woods, and you haven't spent 5 hours washing it. So you've saved time. And you use the technology for all that time and energy.
And if you're like
getting ready.
Tim and I, you can just continue to put your clothes in the bag over and over all fall and really not have to wash it once.
I wash my clothes maybe twice.
I said that to Mark once. He's like, it's because you're not killing anything. If
you get blood on it, you would actually have to wash it.
That was his point.
Words hurt, Mark.
Didn't mean anything by it.
We can't all be good hunters.
Nope. It'd take away half the fun.
What do you always tell coon dog? Not everybody's some are gatherers, some Indians are gatherers. He's a Native American heritage. Some Indians are gatherers. That's Tim and I.
Poor coon dog. Poor us.
Yeah.
Well, we got our buddy from Dalton's got a question for us.
All right. The question of the day is brought to you by Victory Archery, the carbon arrow experts.
Hey guys, this is Dalton from Missouri, located about an hour south of St. Louis. I got a farm that's about 250 acres. It has 90 acres of tillable. The rest is a mix of water, creeks, good cover, brushy timber, and some good mature timber. My question is, what is a sustainable herd population that you want as far as deer per acre on a farm such as this? It's about half food, half cover. It's the only tillable within 5 or 10 miles, the only row crop in the area. And just like to know what is a good sustainable amount of deer to have on a piece of property like this. So any good answers would be awesome. And thanks for having the podcast. Love it. Thanks.
We don't specialize in good answers.
We'll defer to Mark and Dan.
Well, I mean, that's a challenging question because he said it's the only tillable within miles. So I suspect
Sucking them in?
It's sucking them in, the point that it may be over an appropriate carrying capacity. My suspicion would be that along the edges, they would have a lot of excuse me. My suspicion would be that along the edges, they have a lot of deer browse pressure. But in a general rule of thumb, 25 deer per square mile, which he's dealing with, what did he say, 250 acres?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you maybe, you're a third of a square mile there. So maybe 8 to 10. And I'll bet you that farm's probably closer to 25,
Yeah.
But they say 25 per square mile is a fairly high deer density. So it's a tough question to answer because, they change throughout the year as well. He may not have many deer there at certain times of the year, and then other times of the year, they're all there depending on palatability of whatever's planted. Mm-hmm. It can change from year to year with crop rotation too. What's it like with beans? What's it like with corn?
What's it like with millet?
Yeah. What's it like?
What is it like with millet?
They
millet?
disappear.
Yeah. So, the herd is ever changing and ever flowing, and those types of questions, while they are rooted in science and actual application, they're very difficult to answer. You can take surveys and look at your overall deer population. I've had farms that I'm like, I really got to take the deer numbers down here, and we didn't quite do it. And then the next year, there's a third of the deer that were there the previous year. A lot of it has to do with crop rotation, mass crop, sustainability, or what it's like that year. So that's a difficult question, in my opinion. I think the best thing you can do is hunt it and try to do it as wisely as possible. And rather than look at overall deer density, I like to look at overall herd ratio and let that be my governing, deciding factor. They're born in a 1-to-1 ratio. And if I'm seeing 10 does to every buck on my trail cameras and also my actual sightings, then I'm going to try and balance things out. However, if I'm seeing 2 to 3 does to every buck, things are in pretty good balance there. If you can get 2 to 3 does per buck, you're doing better than the vast majority of the whitetail range, certainly.
Okay. Dan.
I have nothing.
Dan, follow Mark. Well, that's what I was going to say.
I hope I gave him some insight to that.
Sure.
So look at your overall herd ratio as opposed to trying to figure out what your overall deer density should be, because it's very difficult to put your hands on.
You can look at the underbrush and see the browse and what's going on, and knowing that they're hungry, but to not have any other tillable around you is.
I would love that situation, right?
You got every
food source.
Yeah.
So I think that sounds like a great farm.
The other thing, he's in Missouri. So I know the Missouri Department of Conservation offers land consultation. So he could have a biologist come out and take a look at what he's got and give him a little more kind of boots on the ground consult.
No doubt. I don't know if his county is open to their DMAP program, which is new. It's a pilot program. They're talking about launching it statewide at some point, but we were able to enroll our farms in it up there in North Missouri, and it really did help us understand the overall ratio and try and take those doe numbers down. So check into DMAP and see if it's open for your county.
Sure. Okay.
All right.
Wildlife word.
Dan, you're in for a wild ride here.
It's brought to you by Scent Crusher. Scent off. Game on. Okay, it's another multiple choice. About 5% of female turkeys have this feature. A bad attitude. B, monocular vision. C, only one nostril opening. Or D, a beard. Bad attitude, monocular vision, one nostril, or a beard.
Dan, we always let the guests go first, mostly so I can choose my answer based on theirs. Go ahead.
Appreciate your honesty.
I don't know anything about the vision or opening, but it's
what
always
about the bad
special
attitude?
if it's bad attitude.
That's 100%.
Yes. I'd say beard, but that's only because I think that's probably my dream is to kill a bearded hen. Yeah.
Mark, what do you think?
I would guess beard, just because I'm unfamiliar with the other two.
Okay.
What does monocular vision mean?
They only have one eyeball that works.
I'm going to go with beard.
Okay. Beard is right.
I knew it.
Nice job, guys. Woo. You're all winners.
All right. I have nothing. in life.
Everyone gets a scent crusher ball cap. Congratulations.
Which would say 5 out of 100 that you see would have a beard, and that's probably pretty close. In all reality, you see quite a few bearded hens throughout the years. Quite a few.
That's math at work.
Thank you. Which is also 1 out of 20.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that kind of math, Mark.
On top of his head. He was doing no cipher in there on a calculator.
You know, it's funny. You talk about deer density, and turkeys are the same way. So in Kansas, the population started kind of in the mid 1980s, and then they grew and grew. And we had a huge number of turkeys till about 4 years ago. And I don't know if it was a disease or something that went through it, but boy, they're about half where they were, you know.
Nationwide, it's down so drastically. I mean, it's really, there's a lot of factors that lead into that. I personally think it's an S predation. That's my personal belief. But there's a lot of things that go into that. We had Dr. Mike Chamberlain on, and he talked to some of these specifics. And it's sad to see what's happening to our turkeys. Where'd the quail go? You know, that happened before. We used to have, millions of quail, and now they're very hard to find through many ranges.
Our quail have come back in Southeast Kansas.
Good. That's good.
But,
Is it have to do with, is there some part played from just general expansion of urban areas or suburban areas, or not having the amount of ground to?
Certainly, but I've hunted some places with incredible habitat for thousands of acres. Down there in Georgia where I go, you wouldn't find better habitat than what they provide, and it's just the turkeys aren't close to what they were in the mid 90s. Maybe a tenth of what they used to have. Now they're coming back a little bit because they're really working on those ground predators, but I think it's nest predation.
Do you think NWTF or other organizations like that, they were such a huge part in
the restoration.
Are we to a point where it's kind of like time for a resurgence? And, and I shouldn't speak on what they do or don't do because I don't know how much they do on a daily basis. I'm sure it's endless, but certainly you would think like, hey, here's this organization and that seems like it's built for this. And it really created the current wild turkey population.
For sure. And if anybody's going to lead the charge, it's them, although they're going through tough times with COVID. All their banquets got wiped out. So that was their primary fundraiser. Their national convention got knocked out. So they're going through some troubled times, but they're going to get through it. But yeah, if one group's going to lead the charge, it'll be the National Wild Turkey Federation. And then just people at the local levels talking and trying to do more. We're certainly trying to address our nest predators.
So I think, and maybe you can speak to this, but if you want to make a donation to something like the NWTF, will you go to their website?
Sure.
If all these banquets are have been shut down because of COVID related issues, is there still a way to put your money where your mouth is? And
I mean, just being a member, I think memberships are $35 bucks a year. So and they use those membership fees to fund the habitat work. And most of these issues they're multifactorial, right? There's multiple pieces in there. And I'd love to see like a wildlife biologist kind of crank out a list, and there's probably one somewhere: coyotes, possums, raccoons, and then Mark Drury's somewhere in that list of factors.
Honestly though, people talk about deer management. We work on our turkey management. We honestly do. We have a table that shows every farm that we hunt. We keep track of how many jakes we see on that farm. We keep track of how many gobblers we're hearing, and then how many we killed. And then next year we'll look at we go into the spring this year, we look at our list from last year and go, man, there was a pile of jakes over here. We killed 2 gobblers off of it. We should be in good shape. And then we compare notes to see if the population's remaining stable, dropping, increasing. And then, there's farms we just lay off of, in terms of that. So we actually manage our turkeys probably a little bit harder than we do our deer because they're so near and dear to us.
What's your trapping regiment look like then on all the farms?
We've got people that help us trap. And then when we have time, Wade and Perry also do some trapping as well. But it comes down to time and expertise.
Right.
So it's always better, I think, to enlist the help of someone that really knows what they're doing and say, here's the farm, go get it.
I've got a guy that comes and does mine every year. And really I started it more for deer because you spend all this time feeding them and raising them. You don't want the fawnts that get done, but I guess that's a good point. Probably helps a lot on the turkey side.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but the target's a little different. You know, we're targeting raccoons, skunks, and possums more so than coyotes or bobcats. Because I think that's where the problem is. You know, they're getting those nests and just tearing them up.
Well, we should remind people that if they'd like to come hunt with Mark and Terry, they can do that potentially. If they're the winner, they can go to DeerCast and register for the.
What if I do that? Hunting? Yeah. What if they want to go turkey hunting?
That's up to you. Because so we've got the hunt that's supposed to happen this fall. So you could come hunt with Mark and then go hunt with Terry.
We picked the winner late June, I think.
Late July.
2 days each farm.
Yep.
Wow. Any weapon of your choice. We talk about it often. The atlatl would be a great choice.
Mark is a devotee. Loves
hunt
the
from
beauty
the saddle with
a
the atlatl. Mark would look at me like, what?
Don't.
Wow, what a special deal to be able to hunt a farm like that and pick his brain, you know, pick both their brains.
Not much left up there.
I hope to win.
It was the neatest deal a couple of years ago when you guys gave away that farm. You know, and they were just neat people. We were talking about it a little bit last night and how much they've used it, but
they are awesome people. Yeah. What a family.
Yeah.
Danny's in DeerCast all the time.
Yeah. And Dan was, the cool part was, so at the ATA show every year, for those of you listening that have never had a chance to go, you know, you have all these vendors, manufacturers throughout the floor, the trade show floor. And over the last, I'd say probably 3 or 4 years, Dan and Chase at Rubline and their crew, they put together these giveaways and it becomes a rock concert over at Dan's side of the trade show floor. And so we partnered up and we wanted to do the announcement. The year before we gave the farm away, we did the announcement over at your booth, and then we gave the farm away at your booth. And it's such a cool experience. It was the coolest experience. Like, give you goosebumps being there. So many people, just a sea of people in every direction.
We had 4,000 people around you that day.
It was cool. Yeah. It was a really neat experience. So I think I'm sure there's a video somewhere of that announcement, but such great people, Denny and his wife, that family that won that farm. So we've had him on the podcast a couple times.
Yeah, just 6 or 7 episodes ago.
Yeah. So
yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. We need to do it again.
All right. Well,
let's do this again sometime. Maybe next week.
For me and you, I'm sure we will be.
I can't thank you guys enough for being great partners and for having me here today. And
our pleasure.
It's good to catch up.
It's a cool story. It's I thought very pertinent to our listeners, and I thought they'd enjoy it. So we appreciate you jumping on and kind of sharing your whole story with the company with us.
100%.
So, thank you.
There's 4 or 5 things that have really changed the way I hunt in the last decade. Trail pictures, box blinds, food plot blends, scent crusher. I'd put those 4 in terms of like shifting the way I hunt and how I do things. Those are the top 4 in terms of what's really changed the way we hunt. So for whatever that's worth.
Wow, Mark, you're going to make me cry.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Great compliment.
And each one of those makes us more lethal and more effective and more ethical and all that good stuff. Closer shots. And it's, I believe it. And you know that, how much I use it and how much I just love it, because it's a game-changing technology that just makes you better as a hunter. And I'm all about that.
The effectiveness, you know, in our time. And I think DeerCast the same way for the consumer at home. It's like, how do you stack up all these different tools in your toolbox, and how can they make you more effective with less time available to you? And that's the reality of it. I mean, you know, obviously you and Terry hunt a lot, you know, and get an opportunity that a lot of guys may not. But guys like Tim and I, when we think about getting out into the woods, we want to be out more, but between family and work and just whatever obligations, this is not a reality. Things like this help you in being more effective when you do get to go.
Big time. For DeerCast, pick the right depth,
that's right.
The right things. You're really optimizing your odds to be out there.
So. All right.
DeerCast and Scent Crusher.
Cheers.
See you next week.
All right. Till next time. Peace out.
DeerCast is giving you the chance to hunt with Mark and Terry Drury. Head over to DeerCast.com to enter. We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's.